In this week's video, we start winter bean drilling, and there's a few challenges in order to keep the beans safe from the crows. And there you have it. So those beans are probably a length of my finger, so I'd say 3 to 4 inches, plenty deep enough. And what we're seeing is quite a lot, those trenches are quite well covered. And personally, I think even if we had to come back with roll this first and then harrow it afterwards to get coverage, it seems to be working pretty well. Try not to get in the shadow, but even this one, see, there's soil over the top, and you get down to getting down, there it is, there's the bean. I moved him. So even in the trench that's it appears open, actually the bean is still quite well covered. So I think we'll roll this first and then do a harrow to smooth it out. But overall, pretty good. And it's interesting, you do get this impression of the compaction in the root zone. Fundamentally, they've been taking hay off here. They run chasers, bale chasers. This is incredibly hard. I wouldn't like to have had to have ploughed this, but there's plenty of fibrous roots in the profile. So what I'm hoping is that the beans will break this down, and then next year we can come in and grow a beautiful crop of wheat. Also, as I was walking along, lots of daddy long legs, which would tend to indicate there's lots of leather jackets out here.
The next day we went back in with the rolls to knock the surface clods around and to try and consolidate, move soil in the trench around the bean seed.
So we're still fingers deep. Most of the slots are well covered, but you do get occasional empties like this. Don't seem to find anything. No. It's a bit rough as a seedbed. It's level side to side, but it is quite lumpy. Again, here we've got a bit of a hole. And interesting, in these holes, I'm struggling to find the beans. And it does make me wonder if the crows are out here. There we go. So he's there. Well, the depth of my fingers again. But does make me wonder, maybe it would pay just to come out here just with the stubble rake. As you can see, the drill marks this way, rolls are that way, so he did roll it at a slight angle, but I think a stubble rake would just make the difference. I think a stubble rake rather than the no, I think maybe the harrow would be good enough. I don't think there's too much on the surface. I just worry about this, but it's quite well anchored, so we'll try for the harrow. Morning everybody, it's Saturday the 27th of September, and following Jack's great effort yesterday, we finished this 19 hectares of light land planting winter beans yesterday. I'm just out picking up my seed trailer, and obviously got the noisy dogs with me, and I just want to show you go through my thinking and explain a few things. So it's worth saying that we have got lumps like this and like this, just lumps of trash. I don't think, they're not, I don't know, maybe you can kick them around with your boot. So they do break up. So just to remind people, when we finish drilling, we put the first tram line in so that other people coming in the field know where the AB line is. This is because both our spray operator and the guys running our rolls are not part of our farm, and therefore it makes sharing of an AB line a bit harder. So that's how we try and stick to control traffic, even with multiple operators from multiple organisations. Now, to give you a bit of a background on the thinking, both myself and my neighbour agreed that about 2 days ago we thought the soil sort of changed from being moist and understanding to being dry, quite difficult to work. So as a result, we have pivoted. So we were always intending to drill the beans on that grass. That went in well, surprisingly hard. Although it was a lay, it had had a number of years of bale chasing and multiple passes during haymaking, and it was surprisingly compacted. So pleased that we could direct drill that rather than trying to cultivate it. So that was done, direct drilled. The first 2 fields were quite hard, so we revisited those. So we rolled it, broke down the clods, then we've gone back with our harrow, try and fill in the slots again. I'm off to see it this morning. We'll take a view about whether it gets a second roll. So that was the beans ex grass. Then we decided we were going to go on to wheat. Still haven't got a very good flush out of the wheat land going into barley, so we have decided to roll that. That's been done, but we then decided to keep the drill man easy, his life easy. We kept the bean boots on the Claydon drill and came out and did this block of light land. It was going to be left till last, but we've brought it forward. A couple of reasons. Firstly, drilling on the wheat onto the heavy land, although it's getting near sort of that 5th of October start date, the dry conditions have made me worry about pre-em, the efficacy of my pre-emergence herbicides. So I have made a conscious effort to come to these beans. Also, beans go in deeper, so we can capture some of that moisture from the 80 mils of rain that we had earlier in the month. It's probably just talking about that moisture, you see, look, we've still got some moisture, especially at depth. Ideal conditions. The beans have been planted into moisture. We can afford to go a bit deeper to hit the moisture and to make them safe from the crows. So with that double whammy, it kind of makes it safer to drill the beans rather than the wheat, and of course keep the tractor going. So we have drilled these beans, and with this, that is the end of our winter bean drilling campaign. But in light of those lumps here, we were obviously just going to roll it, but I've decided to come back with a stubble rake, try and knock it around a bit. We'll go at an angle. I am not going to go with the harrow because I think the row spacing's too narrow. So we'll try and get some footage of the stubble rake out here. I've just got an interesting example here with the complications that result from this trash. So as you can see here, there was obviously some sort of blockage. Probably starts over there. There's a big lump of trash, comes down here, and then I think Jack has had to move it around because I can see his wheel marks here. But my concern is that this trench has brought the beans to the surface, as you can see here and there, and again there, and then two more there. So just a pass with the stubble rake will just help move lumps of this around. A heavy lump like this, where it's difficult to move, something like that could even frustrate the combine. It's the sort of thing that suddenly catch on the header. So just a pass with the stubble rake at an angle, I think will just move this around a bit. There you go, there's another trench. And that's what, coming back to our guiding principle, give every seed the same chance. That seed is not going to have the same chance as that one. So if we just, cover the channel a bit more with a stubble rake, we get a better roll and we get better germination rates. And it's worth talking about the roll as well. So because the Claydon has quite a wide spacing, and you get this chunk of unmoved ground, channel on this side, channel on that side, with this unmoved in the middle, the danger is that the rolls roll the unmoved ground and don't consolidate the two channels either side. So we used to combat this by using culti press, a 6 meter culti press. We don't have that anymore, we just have the rolls. So by coming at an angle with the stubble rake, hopefully we can smooth those over, and then the rolls are consolidating both the unmoved ground and having a better efficacy on the two channels either side. So that's my thinking for this field. Hopefully we can grab you some footage of the stubble rake and the subsequent roll. Very different soil type to the rest of the farm up here, and the reason we're putting this in, or the reason this is coming out of our usual winter wheat, spring wheat rotation, is because it's got a brome issue. I'm now being used as some sort of marker in the dog chase game. It's got a brome issue, and therefore I'm keen to use a break crop to try and break it up a little bit. The landowner, it's a share farming agreement. Landowner and agent are concerned about bean margins. Personally, I'm less concerned, especially if you get it in ideal conditions like this. But we shall see. So if we could come at sort of a 45-degree angle and fill these in, possibly working in lands hit miss across the field to try and get it to move backwards and forwards across this and destroy these clumps, which I think would pretty much interfere with the combine. There's a nice one in the just up there as well.
As it happened, the pass with the stubble rake was unsuccessful because, as feared, the trash wouldn't flow through the tines, so it was back to the field with the rolls.
So we're out in the field of beans after grass, and we've been through and harrowed it. Let me just show you the results. So as you can see, it's generated this sort of crumb on the top, and this here is unmoved ground, moved ground, unmoved. You can see it's really almost like completely consolidated now, with this crumb just covering it. Really pleased with this result. We will come through and do another roll, but it's very, very consistent here, and I think the crows would have a real struggle figuring out where the seed is. So that's unmoved here, moved here, and look, it's well consolidated in the channel. So I think one more pass with the rolls. We'll just roll this. We'll just crumble this last bit in and work it out, work it down. Not so successful next door. So let's just cut to the other side of the track. So just the other side of the track now, and as you can see, it's pulled up lumps here, which is just not quite as nice a finish. It didn't drill as well, but actually thinking about it, it has pulled the occasional lump up here, but it's over the top of it, it's still well consolidated in the channel in here. I think the last roll will just break this up and firm it down again. Yeah, you see here, that's a good example where it's cut through now and it's pretty much, you know, unmoved, moved, unmoved, very little difference in height. So with that next roll, I'll just consolidate that. So although it's a bit more lumpy on the surface, I think by the time we roll it, it'll be very consistent. It's also worth saying there's 3 fields in this sequence. So we'll go to the last one, which went the best. And actually it's been in proportion to the amount of grass on the surface. This little field had the most, just try and get out the wind a bit. This little field had the most grass, then the first field we went to. And actually the last field in the sequence, the landowner came and took a cut of grass off it just before we drilled it. And so it had the least grass on it, and it's probably gone the best. So we'll just travel over there. We haven't harrowed that, we've just rolled it. So just whilst I'm here, it's worth reiterating why we're so worried about or so interested in the harrow. It's because historically we found this sort of off and on establishment with the Claydon. It's not very consistent, and when we measure it, we're getting about a 45 to 50% establishment rate with wheat. So that is why we are pushing for more harrowing, because we find that the establishment rate goes up quite considerably if we harrow. And we're applying the same principles to the beans, even though we haven't measured it. But historically, we suffered a lot of crow attack at the establishment, which is why we are trying to bury the bean deeper and more consistently. And plus the fact this is some tricky old land that we've taken on here. That they thought this was a good enough finish, and I would tend to agree with them. Very consistent, holes are filled in, the old Claydon challenge of unmoved, moved, unmoved, and we've actually got pretty consistent level between the two, and so the soil has moved back into the channel, which is what we're trying to achieve. And actually we've got some seagulls at the far end, floating about there in front of that tree, but we haven't got very many crows. And I'm using crows as a proxy for how well I've buried my seed. So very few crows out here. Thumbs up. So we will come back and do a second roll on those two fields, but this one closest to the railway, job's a good one. So it's also, whilst I'm here, worth just reiterating the story. So this is grass. We find that winter beans, we're getting good winter bean performance. So we have been looking for more winter bean land because we can only grow 1 year in 6. And so we've done a swap with a neighbour, and we've taken on his ex-grass lay, and he's taken some of our spring wheat land that he's putting into lucerne, and we'll get it back in a couple of years, but we're looking at it as a rolling on multi-year contract. So gives me more access to bean land, and then my plan is winter beans followed by a winter wheat, and fingers crossed I get good performance out of it. Evening everybody, it's late on Sunday the 28th of September, and I just thought I would dash quickly out to this field before it got dark to show you the outcome of all those videos. So just to repeat, you can see the weeding lines. So what we did is this field and the lighter green one behind me, you can see the sunset, we weren't very happy with the closure, and so we rolled it, weeded it, as in harrowed it, and then rolled it again. What we're after is sealing those bean seeds in to protect them from the crows in order to try and increase that establishment rate. So let's go and have a quick look before we lose the light. Now actually we have had a drop of rain here today. As you can see, my boots are a bit wet, and really pleased with this now. I'm just trying to get out of the headland and into the main section of the field. You can see the rolling marks, so, and here has been rolled afterwards. So what I'm really pleased about now is you can clearly see the runs of the claydon now, which means that all of the soil that we had on the top has now been forced into these channels and consolidated down. Don't worry, it's a stone, it's not a bean. So all consolidated, fully filled in. Now I have quoted in the past that all I've done with direct drilling is just move my cultivations from in front of the drill to after drilling, but then there's more to it than that. We are retaining moisture in the spring, certainly. We are minimizing soil disturbance, and quite a few of these implements, whether it's the rolls or the harrow, are both nice and wide, and so actually the work rates are far faster than anything that we could achieve with cultivations. And as you can see in this difficult field, you can also see the marks now with the claydon. Clearly you've got the unmoved ground either side, and any loose material has been forced into the channels. However, you still do get the occasional bean. I'll hopefully hide them in there, but very, very few now. So pleased with the output. Follow this through to harvest. The final benefit, of course, is that now this ground is well consolidated you're going to have the confidence to run the header close to the ground when it comes to bean harvest, which when you get pods close to the surface is really important for maximizing yield. So harvest starts today. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. A little bit of having to respond to the conditions that we've encountered, but that's been drilling done. Next week on to winter wheat. Thank you very much for watching. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and click on the little bell to get notifications of when our next video goes live. See you next time. Bye.